I can't help it.
It's on now.
My bad. Don't tell I told you. Don't tell I told you.
Hello, everybody.
Don't tell I
How
told
y'all
you.
doing? We getting ready to get started.
Is it on?
Started. How y'all doing?
Hello.
I hope y'all have had a lovely evening thus far. No, we good. We've prayed that you guys have had a lovely evening thus far. Sorry we got started just a tad bit late. We had to take care of some business.
Yeah, we had a meeting. We had to
Yeah,
attend.
we had a meeting we had to
For the
attend.
radio
but
station.
Yes, for the radio station, and some awesome things getting ready to happen.
Yes,
So
sir.
y'all stay tuned, and then we're going to announce some good things that's getting ready to take place with Spiritual Connect Radio.
Yes, sir.
So let me introduce myself. If you don't know, my name is Ira Warren,
My name is Divine Warren.
and together we are
As
one. Hey, y'all, I'm excited. I'm so excited tonight about what God is getting ready to do. So I'm going to let my husband kick it off because he's interviewing me tonight.
Yes, everybody. Hopefully everybody's having a good night. I hear that wind outside blowing. It's definitely
I know,
cold.
it is cold.
Definitely cold in the
Get
Philadelphia
your
area.
electric blanket or your loved one.
You
and
know, cuddle up. But tonight is a good night. Like I always say, it's always a good day if you're still here.
Yes.
We did have somebody that was going to be on the show, but something came up and they weren't able to be on the show this week. And Mr. King, I spoke to him. He said that he could be on next week, so we have to keep it rolling. We can't let one monkey stop the show. And it was just funny that it was just a coincidence that today is my wifey's 3rd year of being here with me. So after we talked a little while about that, I was like, she was like, we could talk about, me coming here in the transition, from me coming from Texas and moving here with you. And I'm like, that's a beautiful topic because some people know a little bit about our story, little aspects of our story. And tonight will just be like, a little aspect of our story. But it could give you an idea if you really have belief in something or you really have faith in the way things can go, that things could really happen, especially good things, even in the midst of bad things going on around you. So I'm gonna just let wifey open up a little bit and give us a little bit of her story about transitioning and coming here with the love of her life. So I had to say that part.
Oh, listen. Y'all, when I think about transition, let me just give you my definition of transition. Transition, movement, passage, or change from one position, state, stage, subject, concept to another change. It does not allow you to stay in the same place. Y'all, that's deep for me. Because when you think of transitioning, you just thinking, okay, you just have a one-track mind, taking something and taking it to another place. Or when I was a caterer in Texas, I would transport food and transition from my kitchen into, another place. But when it came to me physically going through a transition, that was very, very hard for me. So again, like my husband said, I've been here in Philadelphia 3 years today. I moved here March 14, 2015.
We drove back from
Yes,
Texas.
we drove back from Texas.
Lord.
Y'all, that was a long ride.
drive.
If anybody know what a Nissan Juke look like, that's a pretty tight car. But it's comfortable for me, but a little uncomfortable for hubby because, he's 6'4", it's a change, so he was very uncomfortable on the ride back. But
it was well worth it, though.
But however, God sent me through this transition because I was going through some things and I was in a situationship. A situationship means being in a relationship with someone that God did not call this person to be in your life. So you go through a situationship. And then you kind of stamp God's name on it and say, okay, this is God's will and this is what he wants me to do. Absolutely not. But I lived in Texas for 33 years prior to moving here. Isn't that awesome? The 3-3 going on? But anyway, I had prayed and asked God, June 2013, Lord, what is your will for my life? And when I said that, it just seemed like everything in my little world just fell apart. because I knew it wasn't my will no more at this point. So once I said, God, what is your will for my life? Again, everything fell apart in my life. So it seemed, but during that process of me going through my transition, God sent my husband. And I was going through a really, really hard time. I wanted to get back into music. I wanted to get back into singing. I wanted to do so many things, but I knew besides cooking, music was another passion of mine. So a friend of mine that I was going to high school with, he said, hey, I know this guy. He does tracks. Why don't you get in contact with him? And, maybe y'all can work together. And I was like, okay, I'll try. I'll try. So when Warren, it's funny, his name is Warren, when he told me about Divine, I just kind of let it go. It's like what he said to me went in one ear and out the other. So my friend from high school, he called me back 2 weeks later. He said, did you get in touch with Divine? And I was like, no, I didn't get in touch with him yet. He was like, girl, what are you waiting on? You could really be making some good music now. He said, because your first album was really good. He said, you in the season where you're by yourself, so why don't you go ahead and make this thing happen? And I was like, okay. So I called Divine. We had an awesome conversation, but things took a turn. We went from talking about tracks, and he was making fun of me. He was like, what an old woman like you talking about rapping and singing? Do something, sing something. So I did a little something for him, and then he said, I couldn't hear you. And I was like, okay, whatever. But things took a turn moving forward. Things took a turn, and we just developed this really, really close relationship in one day. Like, we just began to talk. And I don't know what it was, because I was never the type of person that would just pour my heart out to a guy that I didn't know, and especially if he was on the East Coast and I was Midwest in Texas. So, I was like, well, what's the point of me trying to pour myself out, to someone? But I just felt comfortable with him, and so I didn't know that he was going to be part of my transition. I had no idea. But like I said, we began to talk. I began to share, some of my life story with him. And he was in awe. He was very, very quiet. And I would ask him, like, maybe every 10 minutes, was he okay? And he was a little choked up as I began to, share some of the things that I had gone through in my life.
Sure.
I'm about to cry, because it's just awesome how God just made that transition, for me to say, she don't understand that this man is part of that transition. So you don't know, you in Texas now, but you getting ready to move to the East Coast. So I knew God was preparing me for something, because I lived in Katy, Texas, and San Antonio is only 2 hours outside. Of Katy, Texas. So it's only a 2-hour drive, So God was already preparing me there and getting me comfortable, with his idea of, listen, you are getting ready to start moving. And so that was very hard for me to go through that transition. But at the same time, I know I had to let go of my will and take hold of God's will for my life.
Well, with that being said, my wife, she was talking about, what took place with us, when we was talking and everything. It's really for me to interview her tonight, and like I said, some things happen for a reason, and
right.
I really think that this happened for a reason, because it actually fell on her 3rd year of being here with me, transitioning. So I'm going to ask her some questions, I'm going to interview her. It's kind of strange, because I know the answer to some of the questions, but maybe when y'all hear some of the things that she's saying, some of the stuff that she went through and her feelings and everything, it'll be able to affect somebody else in a positive manner, so that if they're in a long distance relationship, or they're in a relationship and they feel like, abandoning it, or maybe it's too far or whatever, maybe it'll give them some, hope that, things could change, and they can continue to be in a relationship with that person. So my first question is, what made you feel like this was something different, this particular, relationship or thing that me and you had? Or did you think it was something different at first?
I knew it was something different. but a part of me just wanted to push you away and push the whole idea of it away, because it wasn't anything that I was familiar with. So when I say familiar with, I meant you, because it was your intellect, it was how you handle me. You didn't run away when I began to share my story with you. So I was automatically like, okay, he didn't run away. He's not running away now. So I had already programs in my mind, just give him a few more months and then he'll just run away, you know. So I said, he's just a guy that's from Brooklyn. I'm a girl from the Midwest. I was born in Gary, Indiana. Then my parents moved to Texas, 1980, and I was like, you know, this is not going to go anywhere. So I'm just not going to put my all into it. But with you, I did feel a real strong connection. But like I said, I didn't want to get myself so, you know, just embedded in it. I guess I was scared. I'm just going to be honest with you. It was a fear that came over me, and I was just like, this is I don't want to say it was weird, but it was very unusual.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, the next question. What made you think that it was changing from friends to an actual relationship?
Whew. I will say, now, ladies, jokingly, when we would talk on the phone every day, now, mind you, I was in a situationship. So if I cared anything about that relationship, I probably wouldn't even be with Devon today. But God never told me to be with this guy. So I was just in a situationship, so my heart wasn't even in it. But just talking to you every day, and the insight that you were giving me, and it was just some things that you were saying to me that I had never heard before. Like, you was like, you need to come to some acceptance with some things that has happened in your life. You know, God is, you know, he's the God of your understanding, is wanting to do some things, you know, with your testimony. And you don't know, you can help a lot of people with some things that you've gone through. And I was just like, listen, I've been sharing my story for a long time, and I don't think, you know, nobody else really want to hear, because there's so many people have this story. And you would say all the time, yeah, of course, but no one is going to tell your story like you're going to tell your story. And I guess it was just the comfort. It was just the love. It was the compassion, the affection, the acceptance, and then the compatibility was there. We was compatible.
I agree.
And I was just like, I said, okay, well, that's cool. You know, he's compatible. We could just be friends. And I've never had that with any man ever. You know, even the ones that I thought that I was friends with, we wasn't, you know, as close as I thought that we were, because they wanted more. So you never came across like that.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad I came across in a different way that made you look at me from a different angle. Talk a little bit about, you know, your first visit coming to Philadelphia. How did you feel, you know, when you finally got to see me in person and stuff?
Oh, my God. I was you know what? I'm not going to say that I was terrified, but I was scared, because I kept putting it out there in the atmosphere. So when we would talk on the phone, I would always say, yeah, you know, I'm a certified massage therapist. You know, I can fly, you know, up there. I said I could give me a little spot, and, you know, I could stack up some money. You know, I was just saying all of this stuff, not knowing I was putting these things out into the atmosphere. And everything that I spoke, it actually happened. So be careful what you say. But if it's going in a good direction, then go ahead and, you know, let that thing fly and allow it to come into fruition. But my first visit here, I just remember being on the flight, and everybody was just, it seemed like everybody was looking at me like, what you going to go do? And the crazy thing is, the dude that I was in the situationship with, he worked for Southwest Airlines. So y'all, I know y'all probably gonna say, Ari, you was just crooked, mean, and nasty, but it wasn't that, because things was deteriorating with us anyway, and you know, I was on the buddy pass list, so it was free for me to fly up here, so I flew up here, and I you know, when I got off the plane, and I seen this tall, good-looking man, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, he had on this nice yellow polo shirt and these cream colored shorts, and he had on some white, pure white sneaks that would hurt your eyes. So I looked, and my palms started sweating, and all I could remember was I had this huge smile on my face that I could not like pull my lips back together to stop myself from
She
smiling.
ain't lying.
And so he grabbed my bags and he was like, "How are you, sweetheart? I'm glad you had a safe trip here and everything." He was very polite, very, very nice. And, you know, he picked me up and I was nervous just like sitting in his vehicle with him. Like, okay, so what's going to happen now? But Divine never kept anything from me. He was always just straightforward with me. He said, "Listen, this is that. And, you know, I hope that you accept me the way that I am. You know, the situation is not going to be this way forever with me. And I'm just happy at the fact that you accept me, you know, for the way that I am. However, I'm getting ready to take you to my best friend's house so you can meet her." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." So we went to his best friend's house.
Oh, they're playing pool and stuff.
And she said, "Y'all hungry?" I mean, she greeted me with a hug, you know. And she said in front of me, she said, "Okay, Divine. She seemed like a nice girl, but we gonna see." You know, like, I was like, okay, so is this his mama or something? Because she was really critiquing me, y'all. Like, really, really critiquing me.
That's what a friend's supposed
So
to do, though.
she said, "Well, you hungry? You want something to eat?" I mean, she came like, "You want something to eat?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm hungry." "Well, what you want to eat?" And I was like, I said, you know, pizza or whatever. She said, "Okay, I know this pizza joint up the street. Let's go get something to eat." So we all piled in her car and we drive and we go to this pizza place. And so while we're sitting there, the dude that I was in the situationship with, I was talking to him on the phone, and the whole time Divine is rubbing the back of my leg, and I'm just like, "Would you stop?" I mean, he's just smiling, face cherry red. He looking at me, talking about, "Hi, baby." I mean, he making all these little, he's saying all these little whispers and stuff, and I'm just nervous and gidgy and all excited at the same time. So I get off the phone with this dude or whatever, because I was just like, he was on something else, and I was just like, I'm not going to let him destroy my 4-day trip because he's tripping. But, I mean, the evening went well. You know, we went back to his friend's house. You know, we ate our stromboli. And she was like, "You want to shoot some pool?" So that was a time for his best friend and I to bond. So she was asking me these different questions. And, you know, she said, "You know, Divine been through a lot. And, you know, for him to let his walls down, that's deep.
That's
you know,
true.
That's deep for him to let his walls down because I know what he been through." And she was straight up. She was like, "Look, don't hurt my friend. He's like my brother. He's like my best friend. And don't hurt my brother." So she said, "If you got some type of motive or something, you need to let that be known." And I was like, wow.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
I was like, "I don't have any motives." And she was like, "Okay, well, you better not." And I was like, okay. You know, I wasn't scared. But anyway, so that's how to start my visit here. I had 4 days to spend with him, and it was the most beautiful time. I really had a good time.
Yeah,
I had a beautiful time.
I did too.
With the shrimp and the broccoli, and we want to get into that. But he did cook for me the whole time, you know, the 4 days when I first came up here. He cooked for me. He took me to see things. And the first time I came up here, he wanted to take me to see his mom, but things didn't work out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't time yet. But God still worked it out, you know, to where we had a chance to talk on the phone even before I moved here.
True. That was
Okay.
definitely true. So when you finally did come, you know, she came and visited me again, and then I went down to Texas as well. But you know, because I went down there to propose to her. You know, I was getting ready to get in the airport on one knee. It was pouring down,
Right. I was like,
storming.
"Don't get on your knees."
She was like, "Oh no, don't get on the knee." You know, I'd have been all dirty and messed up because I mean it was storming, there was mud on the ground and everything. You know, and I went down there and I stayed down there for like 12 days or something like that, right? You know, and then we ended up coming back, driving back all the way from Texas to here. Got to Tennessee, getting ready to go into a hotel. This older gentleman was like,
You might
"That's your
not want
car.
to leave
You
your
might
stuff.
not want to leave your stuff in here." So I was so tired, we ended up just parking in the parking lot in front of the hotel. And I'm glad the older gentleman did say what he said, because I dozed off, and she's my wifey now. Wifey woke me up and was like, babe, look around. So it was like all these guys who jumped out of like work trucks, and they were going around looking in people's cars and breaking in people's cars. You know, they didn't even care that we was there. Like 2 of them looked our way. I just looked at them like, whatever.
Yeah, because he was asleep, and one was staring at me through the window, and I woke him up, and
Yeah,
he
she
ran. The
woke
guy
me up.
just ran off.
And they
But
was going in people's cars.
honey, let me go backwards. So
Oh, okay.
I came up here a second time.
Yes.
So 2014 in August, I came for 4 days. And then I came back December,
Christmas.
the day after Christmas on the 26th. I came and I stayed for 12 days.
Mm-hmm.
But I was feeling some type of way. I knew that this man loved me. I knew that he cared about me. I knew he wanted to build with me. But I was so afraid. Even before I came back up here to visit him a second time, I was just battling in my mind what I wanted to do. And I knew I was going through this wilderness experience, and I was just like, what is going on? Right when I went back, I had lost everything. But let me get to this part. Before I came back to visit him a second time, I kept asking God, like he didn't answer me for like the 500th time. I said, God, is this the man that you want me to be with? And God was like, well, Ira, go to Proverbs 18:22. It says, a man that findeth the wife findeth the good thing and obtain favor from the Lord. So he found you. So I'm going to need you to let your stuff go. I'm going to let you to let everything go. And I had this attitude. I said, God, listen, you blessed me with a candy store. You blessed me with a massage business. I said, you blessed me with this house, and you blessed me with a military job. And God was like, I don't care anything about your stuff. And I was just like, oh, man. So I was battling, like going back and forth. So it was raining real hard, and I was en route in San Antonio. I was going to work, actually. And so it was a semi-truck in front of me. And on the back of this semi-truck, I kid you not, it said Warren. I was like, oh,
my last name.
Which happens to be now my last name. I was like, okay, God, you real funny now. I said, so what are you trying to say? So I said, now what is the coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences, but what is God just put it right in front of my face. And I was like, what? And I took a picture of it.
Sent it to me.
And I sent it to him. And I'm sitting up here and I'm wilding out. I'm crying. And he was like, Ira, you got to calm down. He was like, well, what's going on? And I was like, well, look at your phone. I said, I'm sitting up here praying. I'm wilding out. I'm scared. And he was like, well, sweetheart, don't be scared. I got you. We're going to build together. And he was just always kind. Devon was always sweet, always kind. And I was just like, oh. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't know if I could do this. But a scripture came to my mind when I was going through all of this, and it was Deuteronomy 31:8. It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. God was telling me this verse 100 times, and I was still scared. I was so terrified to make that move. But God was putting everything in front of my face. And because he knew that I would be hard-headed, God began to take everything away from me. One by one. Even before I came back up here to see him the second time, I had lost my good job where I was working as a massage therapist at Oak Haven Massage. And I had lost my job just being a witness to somebody. I had lost a good job. And it was just, things was just falling apart even before I came back up here to see him the second time. But my motives was, I'm going to do this my way on my time. So what I did was, I came back up here to tell him that we just need to keep it as friends. And the look on my husband's face, I knew it hurt him. And I was hurting inside. And at the same time, I was like, I got to get myself together. I was like, I do love him and I do want to be with him, but I want to do it on my time. And it just didn't work like that. God was like, either you gonna do it my way, or you could just stay here in Texas and you won't be elevated. And that scared me. So I was terrified about that.
And the funny part is, even before she got here, like she said on the first day, it was just a connection because she was able to open up and tell me a lot of, stuff that you probably wouldn't tell most people on the first day.
Right.
So we had that connection. It started off like we were saying about music, but then it transitioned. Transition. But the next question, so after coming here, what was the hardest part of your transition as you came to Philly?
The hardest part was I was so in my familiar place. I could go anywhere in Texas with my eyes closed. And then more so than that, it was my children. my grandchildren, the relationship I thought that I had with my parents, and everything just seemed to be going in the direction I thought it was going in. So I was like, what was the need of me? What was the need of me even, making this transition? And I was like, what about my children? What about this and what about that? And God was like, listen, I told you to pick up and go. And then when I started thinking about Abraham and all he had to do, and they said he had 75 years worth of stuff he had to pack up and just go. God said, I told you to go. And then when I think about, family members that had, come along with him, and I knew I couldn't bring my children with me. I couldn't say, come on, grandbabies. I couldn't say none of that. And it was just like, that was devastating for me. And my children's hearts were hardened. They were upset. They was mad at me. They was like, well, you left us for a man. And that wasn't even the case. I wasn't leaving them for Divine. It was just, yes, it was for Divine. But God was like, okay, it's time for you to come out of Egypt. He said, because as long as you're here, you're not going to be elevated. You're not going to go where I want you to go. And first of all, you're worshiping your children. That's mine anyway. So you're putting them above me. So God said, you make a choice. You can either get with this or that. And I was hurt. I was like, oh my God. I said, God, are you serious? So another scripture came to mind, Matthew 19:21. If you wish to be complete, go and sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasures in heaven, and come and follow me. I was like, ah. So I was like, okay, you want me to give up my candy store, my house, my job that you gave me in the military, being a youth minister coordinator, and you mean to tell me you give me all this stuff and you just want me to sell it? God was like, listen, I'm telling you, you ain't got too much time to be wasting. When I tell you to go, girl, I say go. I mean, go. And I was just hurt. I cried. I was double dutching back and forth. I was calling Divine every other day. He was either at work or with his children, and I was just like, I can't do this. And he was in a meeting one day, and he called me when he got out of this meeting, and he said, look, Ira, and I could just hear the tears in his throat. He was like, listen, I can't force you to come. He said, but I knew you was my wife the first time I talked to you on the phone. And I was like, what? I was like, nah, he playing games with me. I'm going to get up there, and this fool going to start acting a fool, and it's just going to be some problems. And I said, God, how do I know? How do I know that this is you? How do I know that this is you? And God said, watch me. Watch and see. So I had this plan, y'all. Listen. I called Divine. I said, listen, I'm going to go ahead and marry this other dude. He said, what?
Yeah,
he said, Ira, come on now. He was like, you are out your mind right now. You're not thinking. You need to go get some sleep, go get something to eat, do something. He said, because you're not thinking right. I was scared. I wanted to stay in my familiar place, so I was going to take the lesser instead of the greater, what God had planned for me. So I was going to marry this dude that didn't care nothing about me, and I was going to try to make him be something, be what I wanted him to be, and it still wasn't working because he was doing what he wanted to do anyway. And so God allowed this man to harden his heart towards me. We was getting into fights. He put his hands on me, and I said, okay, this is it. So I know God allowed some things to happen. Maybe not putting his hands on me, but God allowed that man to harden his heart towards me so I can move and go in the other direction. So this was my other issue. The timing ain't right. Oh, it's going to have to be on my time. So Lord, still I had this fear. What if he's not the guy that he is on the phone? Okay, yeah, I went up there and flew up there and saw him twice. How do I know he's still not the man that you say he is for me? God was like, listen, Ira, it's not about your timing. So what it was, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, the picture wasn't clear. So if the picture wasn't clear, then I wasn't going. So what it was, it wasn't nothing about God is not giving me the spirit of fear, love, power, and sound mind. It was more like faith is the substance of I need to see it before I go up there, before I do, so it was me with my natural self. I wanted to see it to believe it. And so with God, it's the reverse. God said the faith is the substance of things hoped for, Hebrews 11:1, and evidence of things not seen. God said it's not for you to see it. You want to see a clear picture. I was calling him on the phone. Okay, let's find another place to move. Let's find some apartments. I had him on the phone for hours because I wanted to move where I wanted to move, and I wanted to stay where I wanted to stay. And he was like, well, why don't you put in for some jobs? I did that, and people was calling me while we was driving back to Philly. People was calling me for jobs.
That's true. We was actually in a I don't know what it's called, one of those fast food restaurants.
It was called Whataburger.
Whataburger.
Yeah.
The lady called you and she was like, are you in Philadelphia yet? Remember?
Yeah, and I
You
say
was
I will
talking
be
on the
there. I will actually be there tomorrow. So I could see God was still working those things out. He was working things out. But in the midst of him pushing me, I was still like, pushing back. God was pushing me in the back, and I was pushing back with his hands on my back. I was like, wait a minute, I don't want to do this.
Resistance.
And I was pushing him back, and I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I got all my clothes in San Antonio, and and God was like, listen, it doesn't matter. You still going to go. When Divine came to visit in March of 2015, he came on the 7th. He wasn't supposed to leave until like the 20th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So while he was there, the third day he was there, y'all, this is crazy. Now, how is it that I'm working for the military almost a year? Got my ID to get on the base, the whole 9.
Mm-hmm.
So while we sitting there, we keep kind and everything with the folks. And my phone said, bling, and I picked it up. And I see the email, and it says, Lackland Air Force, Sergeant Crispo, urgent, Miss Jacobs, that's my maiden name, get back with me ASAP. So, he sends another email. He says, Miss Jacobs, I don't know what happened, but your clearance is never cleared. I say, what? I've been with y'all for 8 months, and you gonna tell me my clearances weren't clear? I'm on the base. I'm having a good time with the children. I'm building programs for youth that's been broken, raped, molested, you name it. We having a good time. Divine was even helping me with my curriculum for the kids. We was doing all kinds of stuff for the children on the base. So I was devastated. So I see.
And it happened while I was there.
And it happened while he was there.
Which is funny.
So I walked upstairs. I go upstairs. And I knew God was doing something because my body was going through this change. Both of my knees was this big. I kid you not.
Up.
They were swollen.
Whoa.
I couldn't walk. My mom, she was giving me, Advil, knee braces, all kinds of stuff. That's what happens when you're disobedient. Stuff will come up on you and you be like, well, what happened? No, because you're disobedient and you're hard-headed, so stuff will start coming up on you. But anyway, I walked upstairs. I got tears rolling down my face. I said, Mom, read this. She said, what they mean your clearances ain't clear? You've been there almost a year. I said, I know, Mom. She said, well, what are you going to do? And then for the first time, my mom grabbed both of my hands. She set me down on the bed. She grabbed my face like this. And she said, you're worthy and it's time for you to go. And I was like, but Mom, I got this. She said, don't worry about the kids. God got them. You got to go. She said, why you don't think that you're worthy to have a good man? Why you don't think you're worthy to be in a different place where God can expand you? For the first time, I heard my mama actually say something to me that edified and really just touched my heart. And I'm crying. I'm saying, Mom, I'm scared. She said, girl, get out of here and go. And I said, okay, Mom. So Mom, she goes in her office. Divine was downstairs talking to my dad. And I said, Divine, can I talk to you for a minute? And then Dad said, Chubb, everything all right? I said, I'll talk to you in a minute, Dad. So Divine comes upstairs. My mom and Dad had this beautiful room painted in blue, and they had like this canopy bed, and it was a nice chair. So I said, babe, could you just sit down in the chair? And I could see this look on his face like, what now? Almost like, is this girl going to cut me off again? So he sits down in the chair, and I give him,
what was going on.
And I gave him the phone, and I said, well, could you read this? And he read it, and he looked up at me. He only said a couple of words. He said, so what are you going to do? 6 words. And I said, I guess I got to go to San Antonio and get my stuff, what I can get. He said, is that what you want to do?
That's what I said.
And even though my flesh said, heck no, my spirit man said, yep. It was loud. He was like, yep, she coming. So the next morning, we drove 2 hours to San Antonio. You know, we laughed. We was listening to oldies. We, you know, holding hands, kissing each other on the cheek and all that. But deep down inside, I was terrified. I was so scared. I was scared of the assignment. It was too daunting for me. I said, this is hard. It's not the right time. Lord, is you sure? I just wasn't feeling it. But anyway, I get there. God had already started taking my stuff. My candy store was gone. My house was gone. Massage business was gone. So I ended up sleeping on my best friend's floor at her big house. On the floor. So I drive back. I get there. I text Amanda and I said, sis, I'm coming to get my stuff. And she was like, well, what are you doing? I said, sis, I gotta go. And she was like, is this what you want to do? And I said, yeah, this is what God said do. I said, I wish I could say, had it been my way, I would have went when I wanted to went. But I don't think I would have went if I had went when I said I was going to come. I probably wouldn't even come to Philadelphia. So I get there. Divine sees all this stuff. He said, is this all your stuff? I was like, yes.
And we went up in the room upstairs. Remember?
I gave everything away to Salvation Army. I gave away $6,000-$7,000 tables that was in my house, beds. I just gave away everything. Bob Marley pictures that was worth a couple of $1,000s. I just gave away everything. And I took, this is what I took. I took a massage table, massage chair, a couple of pots and pans, maybe 20 pair of shoes, and maybe 20, 30 outfits in that small Nissan Juke.
Yeah, whatever could fit in the bag.
Whatever could fit. And stuff that I really wanted to take, some drawings that my son had drew. I had to leave them with my parents. I was trying to stuff it on top, and God was like, listen, you going to mess this up. Why don't you just leave it with your parents? So God was even peeling away stuff that he didn't even want me to take anyway. He was like, you're not taking that. I had old wedding dresses and stuff. He was like, get rid of everything. And y'all, I'm not going to lie. I cried as I was packing my clothes. I cried so hard. And I was like, God, I said, I'm going to be so mad at you. If I get up there and this Negro, I said it just like that, he started putting his hands on me. He started doing, I was just thinking all kinds of negative things. And in the back of my mind, I knew it was God, but then I still wanted to do things my way.
Yeah.
I did.
So did you feel like your faith was being tested? This was like a faith walk that was coming up?
Yes, it was being tested. I didn't want my faith to be tested, but it was more or less my faith was tested by fear. So I don't know, I was just double dutching back and forth, and I was like, God, you sure? And I was like, I don't want to stay in Philadelphia in no row house. You know, I had all these things going on in my mind. I was like, his place is too small. I don't want to live there. It's not to my liking. I just had all this stuff going on. But God was like, at this point, I really don't care what you want. It's time for you to go.
So how did you see our relationship before you actually got here? Did it change when you got here?
It wasn't even you. It was more, like I said, it was more or less me going through. Y'all, I'm not going to lie. It seemed like every day I was telling him this. I'm going to leave and go back to Texas. I can't do this no more. I can't do this no more. And he said, Ira, stop saying that. And then I just remember I had said that one time, and he didn't grab me like he was going to hurt me. He gently grabbed me by my shoulders. He said, Ira, don't you know I love you? He said, babe, don't you know we're going to get through this together? I wasn't even trying to hear that. I was like, well, I said, all your woo-woo-woos and whoa-whoa-whoos, I was going to wait till he went to work, and I was going to put whatever I could back in that car and drive right back to Texas. I was ready to go. Because I wasn't ready. I wasn't trying to do that. I was like, I can't. God said, you can because it's my will, and you will do it. And I was just like, oh. I didn't want to. I didn't like the living arrangements or none of that. It was just like we was sleeping on top of piles of clothes. It was just stuff everywhere. I just couldn't do it. And it wasn't so much more than that. I was uncomfortable in an unfamiliar place. I just didn't want to be here because it wasn't familiar enough. And then people was like, who are you? You not from here. You talk different. You too nice. You know, you trying to get in where you can fit in. Everybody was just rude. I was like, what's the problem? You know, so I just had an attitude. I didn't want to be here.
And she definitely ain't lying about that. She used to tell me stuff every day. I don't like it here. I don't like the people. Why is it so dirty on the street here? You know, it was a lot of stuff. But, you know, I'm actually glad that she did stay, you know, and give our love a chance. So let me back up with that being said. When did you know it was love? You know, when did you actually feel like, okay, well, I'm here now. I'm here with this dude. He's not a serial killer. You know, he's actually nice to me. And when did you feel like the love was coming?
Okay, I'm gonna be real, y'all. Listen, when I felt that the love was real, okay, when I first moved here, I had a job working for Melmart. I was taking care of children that were autistic and stuff like that. And due to, you know, I don't want to put all that out there. I try not to claim that illness, but I had swelling in my joints. My blood levels was low. I mean, I just couldn't move. So we had to put children in restraint. So I couldn't get on the ground and on the floor with them. So they let me go. So right in the middle of training, it was my last day of training. They was like, we noticed that your knees are swollen. We're going to have to let you go. I was like, man. And then shortly after that, this was still in March. It was like the end of March when I had got the job for Melmart. And then April 14th, which is crazy. I don't know what it is with these dates. So I moved here March 14th. April 14th, my husband was at work. He's at a light. He gets hit by a school bus.
From behind.
From behind. Rotator cuff on his arm ripped. He has 3 bulging discs in the lower six bulging discs in the lower lumbar of his back. And that's when I knew I had to have some stick-to-itness, because the first thing that came to my mind was we not married yet. I ain't signed up for this, and I don't want to take care of nobody. That was my attitude. But I wasn't thinking, when I was going through my knees and stuff swelling up, he was holding me up and, you know, taking care of me and rubbing my legs down with icy hot or whatever it is that I needed. He took care of me. So when I was talking to my dad, he said, listen, Shub. He said, listen, this is what you go through when you're with the person that you were meant to be with. You're going to go through trials and tribulations. So if you skip out on divine now, he goes, that's not going to be a good look. You need to stick in there, trust God, and move forward. And I was like, well, daddy this and daddy that, and daddy this and this and that. And then when they did my husband so dirty, when they laid him off for his job, I had to step in, and I had to step up to the plate.
And he laid me off with no pay.
Laid him off with no pay. So I'm looking at him, he looking at me, and I'm just like, okay, God, I need a job. So God did come through with another job, which was a blessing. It came at the right time. When he got laid off, then that's when the Lord blessed with a job at the right time. So it's again, this is crazy. March of 2016, that's when I got another job, doing sort of the same type of work as a residential counselor. So that job came right on time. But this was the thing, I had to work late at night. From 11 p.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning, and sometimes from 11 p.m. all the way until 4 p.m. the next day. So I was getting in the hours, making sure we stayed afloat. He was drawing unemployment. Then when that ran out, we was like, okay, what we do? Then God started opening more doors. He was taking care of us. But I still wasn't up for the task. I still was ready to run. And this verse, what really got me was Genesis 12:1. It says, go to the land I will show you, and not a land I have not shown you. God said, this is where I want you to be. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. It's dirty here. Nobody want to clean up the street. You got cats everywhere. He like cats. They jumping all on me. Oh, no, I can't do this, So I just had a problem with everything. But it was Ira's will and not God's will. So I wanted to do things my way. If it wasn't my way, I wasn't doing it. But I tore down to my knee pads. God wasn't playing with me, though. But, so
do you feel that things have gotten better since you have been here?
Oh, yeah. The place that I so hated.
Elsewhere?
Listen, I did not like it.
And the place that I did not like. Things that have been popping up.
Oh, listen. Okay, the place that I did not like, God renovated the whole place. Do y'all hear me? He used to say, you know what? You don't know what's getting ready to happen, but God is, you gonna stay here. And then we ended up getting favor staying there. You know, so God worked it all out, because the lady that was the landlord, she lived upstairs, but she wasn't taking care of the place, and we giving her our money every month, and she wasn't even paying the bills. So I'm terrified. I said, see, we gonna get kicked out of here. And God was like, see, you all terrified. You don't even know what I'm getting ready to do. So the guy that took over the place where we stay at now, he came, he said, look, we're going to renovate the upstairs. We're going to get it all nice, blah, blah. Y'all can move upstairs. And if y'all want to move back downstairs, you can. But we had so much favor, a lot of favor. Actually, April, which is next month, we'll be in the new renovated place.
Where we live now.
Where we live now. It'll be a year. So I love it there. You know, it's doable until God bless us with our home. But I just didn't want to be there. But God, He just worked everything out. And we was just going through so many trials, because the lady that lived upstairs, her daughter ran some bath water. They both fell asleep.
And flooded.
We went out to get something to eat. We come back. It's a big old hole this big. I kid you not. In the ceiling. Now, y'all, don't play with my shoes.
And the living room was flooded.
Let me tell you, I had all of my stuff like in big totes, like big buckets, because it wasn't any room. So I had all my nice shoes that people had blessed me with, and all of that, child. Let me tell you, I don't have them shoes no more. I mean, I went through a storm and then a actual flood, literally, with material stuff.
And the funny thing, let me talk about that. When we walked in the door, it was funny because I didn't even see it at first. But what happened was I slid.
Yeah.
Remember, I walked in the door, we walked in the door, and my foot slid. And I was trying to figure out what did my foot slide on, and then I happened to look down. We turned the light on, and it was water, like all in the living room. And where Babes had her shoes, it was all flooded. I was like,
shoes, clothes, everything was flooded. So you know, when it's an old house, all the dust and mold and stuff, it messed up every shoe.
And the ceiling was starting to fall from the area where most of the water was coming. That was crazy.
So again, I went through a whole nother loss. I began to feel my flesh get angry, and then I calmed down. And then Devon said, Ira, babe, I'll get you some more shoes. Even the lady told me, I'll pay you for them. Like, she never did pay, but that's fine. I did. I calmed myself down, and I said, this is just materialistic stuff. It could have been worse. It could have been a fire. It could have been, it could have just been, it just could have been worse. So I got myself together, and the Lord still provided. And we were still going through storm after storm, where the water in the sinks wouldn't go down. I mean, we had to compromise and improvise with everything. And it was just becoming to the point where I was really going to leave Divine at this point. And I was just like, I know you got hurt, but I'm tired of bathing in a tub and the water ain't going down. We can't even wash dishes in the sink. We got rodents in here. I gotta go. I'm sorry, I can't do it. But that was my wilderness experience. I had to go through it. I had to. And it has made me very, very strong as an individual, and it has made me a better partner and best friend to my husband, because I had to go through it. So he would always say, this is going to really see, with us going through what we're going through now, is really going to see how we're going to be, and going further.
Because if we could get through that, we would be able to get through anything. That's what I would always say. Because a lot of the stuff that was taking place at that time, it was really out of our hands. It was to the landlord, not keeping up with stuff. And I guess probably towards the end, she wasn't keeping up with stuff because she knew she didn't have the money to pay for what was supposed to be paid, and that she was going to lose the place. So. But overall, even with all that happened, it turned out better for us after the situation got worse. So I used to just tell wife, I'd be like, look, keep the faith. We just have to keep the faith regardless. And things did turn out for the better.
It did.
But let me ask you another question. Well, what is the best thing that has come out of your marriage so far, in your eyes?
The best thing that has come out of my marriage is strength
Mm.
and endurance,
Mm.
and knowing that you really have become my best friend.
Mm.
You know, not just saying that because I'm married to you.
Mm.
It just a diamond, and you know, like people always say, the diamond in the rough.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, shoot, forget the rough. You know, you were like the diamond to me. You know, you constantly stayed encouraging me. Yeah, we both got on each other's nerves, but for the most part, you always remained calm.
Mm.
You always kept your character. You always, you know, you never.
I try.
You know, you never, but it is a never. I can honestly say you never just really came out of yourself, you know, because people will come out of themselves when situations or somebody coming at you, because I know me, because when stuff is not right and I want it to be a certain way, oh, you know, I got a few choice words, I'm not happy, I'm upset, and I think the thing that I would say I regret the most is I would continuously tell you, I'm leaving, and God was just like, you know what, you know, she got to get herself together, because I feel like if I kept saying that, I feel like to me you probably would have granted that, even though it would have hurt you, you know, because who's going to keep hearing that and dealing with that and telling you 100 times a day what you don't like, and you already know what the situation is.
And then even if you know the person has feelings for you, and you keep hearing that over and over again, your judgment starts to get clouded, you know, because you'll be like, well, damn, I'm not doing anything wrong, and she or he continues to tell me, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. And due to the fact that, you know, it's bad circumstances that's going on around you, you know, me being hurt in an accident, my job and all those things, but at the same time, you're probably not thinking about that at that particular time. You're looking at it as if she's attacking you personally, you know, not just due to the circumstances. Like, basically what she said before is probably a lie. That's how some people would take it if someone continues to, you know, tell you something negative over and over. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here with you. I don't want to be here with you. So sooner or later, you're probably going to be like, okay, well, if you don't want to be here, let me, you know, support you to go right on where you want to go, you know. And I didn't want to do that because I really loved my wife, you know. I wanted to be with her, you know. I wanted us to be together through it all. I really didn't want her to be in the bad circumstances with me, but at the same time, I didn't want her to leave me because my love for her was so deep. I'm gonna ask another question. I have like 2 more questions, and that's basically gonna be it. Being that we started off as a long distance relationship, what would you say that would help other people who are in a long distance relationship and they feel as though they're transitioning to be with that person every day? What would you tell them? What were some of the suggestions you would tell them to do, or things to think about?
I would say get rid of your situationships. What I mean by that is, if it's somebody you still sneaking and creeping with, and you know that you're in a relationship with somebody long distance, you need to get rid of your old soul ties, because it's hard. And then you lying. And you lying to that person. You telling him, listen, when I knew that it was serious between Divine and I, everything and everybody, even if they was just a friend, everybody had to go. I just had to cut that off, because it would have been more pressure on me to try to keep up this facade that, you know, I'm just with you and you only, and I'm talking to you and you only. So get rid of your soul ties, get somewhere, repent, and get your soul and your womb clean, and then you can actually be in a long distance relationship. And I would say another thing, you know, always keep that open line of communication, and be honest. And be honest when you say you really want to be with this person. If you know deep down inside that, you know, you just talking to this person long distance to fill a void, then just stop. Because you're hurting that person, but in the long run you're hurting yourself.
Exactly.
You know, you're hurting yourself too. So if you can't handle a long distance relationship, because some people can't even handle a local relationship. So if you can't handle a long distance relationship, you got to really take a look at it and be honest with yourself. I was scared because of fear. It wasn't that I didn't want to be with him. You know, it was the lack of trust, the lack of faith, the fear of the unknown. It was an endless list of stuff for me. I'm saying everybody could be different. But mine was coming out of my familiar place and going to another place that was unfamiliar. So that was my issue. But I would say this: if you're planning on being in a long distance relationship, don't go in it with just, he's just so nice. He's just somebody I can talk to. He says all the right things, and you know deep down inside you have no intentions of being with this person ever. You know, so you got to be careful with that. You know, playing with people's hearts. You know, we understand all of us have feelings, but at the same time, you are really playing with that person's mind and their heart.
That's
So
true.
you have to be careful when you make that decision, because once I heard Divine, well, I said it first. I say, well, you know I love you, right? And he said, But then when he finally said that, I knew it was official. And I had to let everything and
Like a
everybody
whistle.
go. I had to let it go. So.
And this is the last question. I know everything is more on a good note nowadays, but if you could change some things, what would you change about our relationship or life in general?
Ooh, babe. Haha. I will continue to change my attitude. I'm just going to start with me. I will continue to change my attitude. I would trust God more and trust your wisdom and your understanding, you know, because the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom and knowledge and all that good stuff. And I have to look at you as my leader, as my, you know, because a lot of people say, oh, my pastor, y'all, this is my first pastor, okay? He's my leader. Like Sarah, she called Abraham Lord. This is my Lord, small L.
But-
You know, so I look at him as
a big
he's
L.
the Lord. You better quit. The small L. He's the Lord of my life, and he's taking care of me. He protects me, and Divine will come for you if you say something crazy to me. You know, that's just how it is, and it's comforting in knowing that he's going to take care of me. But if I could go back and do anything, I would. I know I can't take it back because I put it in the atmosphere, but trust me, I prayed 100 times, Lord, help me with this running spirit, because I can't run from everything, you know. So God, help me not to run in the midst of what you're trying to do, because I'm going to tell y'all, I have gotten acting opportunities, singing opportunities, speaking opportunities, panel opportunities. Now look at this opportunity. You know, because I had to surrender. I had to let go of myself. I had to let go of my ideas, my ideologies, what I wanted, and in exchange for what my husband had for us. He has not led me astray in some weird place and saying, okay, girl, you know, if you take this pill, it's going to make He ain't led me into some weird witchcraft, none of that old crazy stuff. But he's always kept it straight and narrow. Ira, this is what we need to do. You know, he listens to my heart, my ideas, what I want to do, and vice versa. So I would say, you know, if I could change anything, I would continue to change my heart and my mind towards, you know, you and what God has for us to do as one.
That's a good thing to know. And a lot of people tend to want to run, you know, like wifey said, that's the running spirit. And I used to always tell her, wherever you go, you take you with you.
Yeah.
So who are you actually running from? Are you running from yourself? Because you take yourself with you. You know, so hopefully someone got something, you know, from this show. But what I would like to say is, if you're in a long distance relationship, how ours started, make sure you remain honest with the individual. You know, communicate. Communication is very important. You know, let them know how you're feeling. You know, maybe come up with some pet names. You know, I'm just going to run down some stuff for a minute. Talk things out. Put everything in, you know, out in the open, because y'all not around each other. So you need to hear those things. You know, visit each other whenever you get the time. You know, keep in mind when y'all are going through things and talk about stuff, is there compatibility there? Because a lot of people get in relationships and don't even know the person's middle name. That may be fine. You might find out the middle name, but later on down the line, you really have to know, is this someone, like my mom said, she told me this one time. She said, if you're going to get with someone and you're really serious, don't just think, could you marry them and those kind of things. Think about this. She said, could you live with them?
Yeah, she did say
That's
that.
what my mother said. She told me she didn't talk about none of the love, none of that. She said, well, that too, but she was like, could you live with her?
She said, because she did say that. She was like, I don't care if she looked like a baboon.
Yeah.
She said, I
Like,
just want to know,
matter.
could you live
She
with
was like,
her?
are y'all compatible? Is there compatibility there? And can y'all live with each other? because she was saying like when people start to live with each other, they really don't know each other and stuff like that. That's when the truth starts to come out. You know, and some of the stuff that y'all didn't deal with prior will definitely show up then. Like they say, wood don't come out in the wash, it come out in the rinse. It'll definitely show up when y'all live together because you're sharing close proximity, close space with each other. You know, let your feelings be known. Understand the distance can cause a strain, but if it's worth it, stay in it.
Right.
You know, and if it's not, then you can make your decision to move on. And being in a long distance relationship, it takes discipline. You know, it may be some stuff that you have to change, some stuff that you have to do different. You know, be responsible, have ground rules, expectations for the relationship, and co-create your intentions or your relationship, you know, together. Listen to what your partner is saying. Be interactive. Living apart can actually help y'all when y'all come to live together. You know, maybe talk a little sexy to each other from time to time. You know, say some little sexy words. My wife had a bunch of pet names actually, and still does. You know, keep each other interested, you know, towards each other. Like do similar things. Talk about your goals. You know, keep in contact. Like I said that earlier, but know each other's schedules. Maybe share some gifts with each other. I remember my wife was living in Texas. I sent her some shoes, you know, and some other stuff. Stay focused and positive, and maybe even Skype or video.
Yeah, we did a lot of
Skyping.
Skyping.
And all that. Look, that worked for us. We used to Skype a lot.
Like, crying
night.
Where you going?
I used to have to go to work early in the morning. I'd get up 5-something in the morning, and then I'd get off, we Skype, smile. I don't want you to go, babe. That's what she used to tell me. And I was like, oh, okay. And then
we'll hang up. He'll call me right back. We be falling asleep on the phone. Y'all know how we used to do that in high school with your little boyfriend. Fall asleep on the phone.
But look, at the end of the day, I'm shutting it down. But at the end of the day, just try to be as honest as you can be with each other. And
trust the process. When God sends you through a transition, know that it's Him and trust Him. Follow His lead. Have faith, not fear. You know, don't doubt. And I trust you. It's always greater later.
And on the other side of transition is usually growth.
Yeah, it is.
You grow through those obstacles and hurdles that you go through. You know, so with that being said, you know, I just wanted to run down a little list. I'm hoping that someone got something from out of what my wifey's, you know, sharing her story about her transition from coming from Texas to here. And as we always close out, my name is Devon Warren.
And my name is Ira Warren.
And together we are
as one. Y'all have a good night. Peace.
Good evening.
Good lady.
It wasn't live, babe.
It said live.
Shouldn't see if it recorded.